Thank you for joining our August 24th Intermediate Planning webinar. Today we'll be covering the economic and agronomic benefits of leasing hunting ground. So our agenda for today, we're going to go through our introduction. Next, we're going to identify possible areas in the field where there was damage from wildlife. We'll be looking at one field where there's a group of trees in the northeast corner, and the backstory is on it. There's rampant turkey and deer populations in that area, damaging the corn, thus resulting in lower crop production and result and low profitability and return on investment. So we're going to select zones and work scenarios representing standard assumptions and associated costs, and then compare ROI on zones and scenarios. And then we'll follow up with any questions anyone might have. So I do want to let everyone know that we are in Q&A mode. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type your message in the chat box there underneath my contact information. You can contact me via email at djba@agsolver.com, or you can contact our support team at support@agsolver.com, or you can give me a call. My cell phone number is 319-238-1978. Now we'll hop into Profit Zone Manager. And so for this particular scenario, we're going to be working out of 2010 corn production on the Ritchie field. So we're going to drop this down. And so in this area, we're going to be looking at this northeast corner right along here. And so backstory, there's right around 8 to just shy of 10 acres worth of timber and tree ground up here, and there's a creek that flows through the area, and there's actually a little ravine that runs through there. And so we've rented this field for the past 3 years. So every time we go to this area, either when we're mowing waterways or scouting, we can typically find at least 2 fawns and a doe, and then about 30 turkeys in this area. And so we just went by this area yesterday, and so there was 3 toms and 2 hens, and then looked like an additional about 30 chicks in this area. And so in this area, what we will do, we'll go ahead and copy a scenario. And we're going to base this off of our actual production, 2015 corn production, and then we'll call this hunting lease scenario. So we're using the same crop budget that we did. And so for a field average yield on this 109 acres, it went on average about 215. So what we're going to do next is draw a zone where we had the destruction from the turkey and deer. So our drawing tools pop up in the top left-hand corner, or if we had within say an SMS software, SST, or snapshots, we could bring those boundaries over, but we'll go ahead and just draw these field boundary or these zone boundaries in the northeast corner. So what I'm going to do is simply outline this area where we took the yield loss, and it was pretty apparent in terms of why we were having that issue with reduced yields along with reduced profitability. And then connect our last point to our first point. And that pulls up our specific budget for the zone. So in that, and it's about 2 acres usually, you can see our average yield was only 151 bushels. So what we'll do, we'll first name the zone. So we'll call this hunting lease with increased crop performance. So, and for our target yield, we're going to increase yield by about 10%. And so my rule for hunting this, and I'm not a huge hunter, mainly due to lack of time in the fall and in the spring, and so this is one of those scenarios where we're looking to have someone hunt this ground, and really our only rules is that you pay $150 to hunt this and to get at least one deer and 3 turkeys. So because we're primarily looking from an agronomic standpoint to increase yield and also to have a little bit of excess revenue. And so on that zone, so we're going to eat that. And so next we're going to add our other revenue. So since we're running out that timber ground, and then also we'd let the tenant or subleaser of the hunting ground actually use this field to have access, so they can use this as a gun range also, so they're just not segmented into the hunting areas. So we're going to go and select other. We'll name this hunting lease payment, and so we'll say $75 based off the cropping ground. Adjust this, and so, but usually this is about 2 acres right in there. So we increased our target yield zone, then increased our revenue from the hunting lease payment, and we're still going to farm this ground. So still row crops on this. We're in a corn soybean rotation. So and they're about 1.7 acres. So then now you see we increased yield by about 15 bushels or 10% on this 1.7 acres. But now we take profitability from $174 loss to only $41 loss now. Went from a negative 23% to only a negative 5.4%. Or more importantly, at the end of the day on this small acreage, just 1.7 acres, instead of losing almost $300, much easier to stomach losing only $70. And then we can come back and say, on that 1.7 acres, instead of $75 an acre, we can bump that up to $85 to get that target $150. So we'll come in edit budget, scroll down, we'll go 85. So, and then what we'll do after we create that zone and analyze our zone performance, we then will compare scenarios. So on the left-hand side of our compare scenarios, we'll have our corn production from 2015, along with the deer and turkey destruction in the northeast corner without the hunting lease payment added in on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, we have our corn production with our hunting lease zone based off payment. And then increased crop performance. And so within this scenario, we increased yield just slightly to 215. Profit went from $69 to $72. Return on investment went up 0.3%. And then total field profit went from $7,500 to $7,800. So, and this is where the user can come into play and say, you know what, we had a bigger, I believe we can have more than a 10% yield increase if we manage the turkey and deer in that area. So we can come back into our budget and then increase that by, say, 25%. So now when we increase yield 25% from, or increase it by about 40 bushels, by 40 bushels, now we go from taking a $147 an acre loss to actually making $56 an acre now. We have just right around a 30% return on investment swing. We've greatly increased our production efficiency, and our total zone profit went from $298 to actually profit of $96. And so in this scenario, I believe this is more accurate than only increasing yield by 10%, but we can view it from the conservative. You know, we don't expect that, or maybe another issue within this area is due to the tree shading, or trees taking up moisture, which is robbing that from the crop. But to be honest with you, we have beans in this field this year, and it's more than, it's not a water management issue. It's the turkey and deer have it picked down to just about absolutely nothing. And so, and this is one of those alternative management scenarios where you really think outside of the box. And so, in this standpoint, it's not a soils type issue, and it's not a seed issue. It's something it's an external factor. So, and we can compare the scenarios with our adjusted zone performance. So on that 1.7 acres, we increased overall profitability on a per acre basis by $5. We increased ROI by 0.5%. But really, we increased overall total field profit by about $500. And that's including the additional yield gain and also the hunting lease payment. So now I'd like to open up and ask if anyone has questions. And so, excuse me. Once this webinar is completed, it will be posted onto our AgSolver YouTube page, where you can go back and review the scenario, or you can call or email me to set up a one-on webinar or meeting to create this very scenario within your Profit Zone Manager account and enterprise. So, and then in this case, since we don't have a huge zone in a rather large field, this field's about 108 acres, tillable acres, and so you don't see that huge of an overall field profit. And so you really see the benefit is right in the zone performance here. So, and that's the most impactful. So, and when we have the implemented zone, we're also able to decrease our break-even commodity price on that area by about a quarter. So if there is no more questions, I want to thank everyone for joining our August 24th intermediate planning webinar. So I want to Thank you, and like I mentioned earlier, this webinar will be posted to our YouTube. So thanks for joining.